you possibly consider Promising Young Woman, Saltburn, or Greta Gerwig's Little Woman better than Taxi Driver or Citizen Kane? They didn't even win any Oscars. Hello, and welcome to Tabitha Tutors. Don't worry, these aren't even real. I'm 90% sure that I lost my real glasses on my last film set I was on, because I'm a professional. Okay, today we are going to be talking about Konstantin Stanislavski. He is the father of modern acting, some might say. Konstantin Stanislavski was born January 17th, 1863, making our man a Capricorn. Stanislavski produced a lot of the work of Anton Chekhov. Chekhov notably saying, "Stanislavski has ruined my play." In about 1909, we see the first rumblings of his system being mentioned. And, surprise, surprise, Stanislavski is a Nepo baby. Despite his parents' discouragement, he was able to use two of his family's private theaters to develop his work and his system that we have today. Stanislavski established the primary method we have of acting training, called studio training. You go in and you work in classes. You're working how Stanislavski and his students worked. His system was constantly evolving his entire life. He was never stopping developing his system of acting training. So what we see is we have early Stanislavski training and we have later Stanislavski training. And we can actually see the difference in this with Lee Strasberg studying with him in Stanislavski's early training life, and you have Stella Adler who worked with him in his later training life. And that way we can see the two different approaches over time. We're going to go over his basic principles. Stanislavski says that there are two ways of approaching acting: the art of experiencing and the art of representation. He doesn't like the second one. With the art of experiencing, you are living through your role every single night. You're able to find new discoveries and you are constantly in a state of discovery. You're figuring out your role every single night. Despite the hours of rehearsals you've already put in, every performance is fresh. With the art of representation, you've gone through your rehearsal process, which probably include living the part, but once you have figured out your role, you're doing it every single night, pretty much the same way. You're not looking for new discoveries. You've perfected the role and you're giving it to the audience. Now, this is what I think is interesting. If we apply that to how we approach roles today, the art of experiencing is absolutely something that you would see in theater. Now, whenever it comes to film and television, however, they may want you to have the art of representation. Whenever you perform for a self-tape, they are expecting to come in and see the same actor do the same work because that's what they hired you to do. Now, on the day, they may ask you, okay, try something new. Try it this way. Do it better. Do it differently. And they may not be very specific about that, but they may want you to do exactly what they saw on the self-tape and then brought to the callback and do exactly that for the final performance. It's just interesting to think that neither the art of experiencing or the art of representation is necessarily bad as Stanislavski would have you believe. It's just two different approaches. Here we have the magic if, which is essentially just saying, what if you were in this circumstance? What if this was your life? What if you were trying to lead a revolution and discover the treasury system for an entirely new country? What if that was you? Given circumstances are simply things that are discoverable in the script. I like to think of them as like the facts presented to you. They're not really interpretable, they are just there in black and white. Subtext, however, is where the party happens. That is where you're able to discern and try to interpret what the character is thinking in that moment. That is purely up to you as the actor, and that is where you get to have your fun. The super objective is the overarching or primary goal of the character throughout the whole play. Meanwhile, objectives are from scene to scene and are what the character wants in that moment. Every scene should have an objective, should have a goal of what your character is trying to achieve by the end of that scene. It gives every scene a sense of purpose and moves you towards that super objective waiting at the end. Physical action is basically just the character's behavior. You want to give them actionable things instead of just thoughts in their head. Communing is the relationships between actors on stage, between the characters on stage. It's not that, oh, Susie Q and Bobby are having a fling backstage. It is about their characters on the stage and how they relate to one another. If you stay locked in with your scene partners, then you are going to go so much further and you're not going to get as distracted by the audience sniffling in the corner or your mom trying to make eye contact with you because she's so proud of you. Stay locked in on your scene partner. This is where a little bit of controversy comes in. This is the piping hot tea of Stanislavski. Emotional memory, which boils down to observing and collecting emotional experiences throughout your life and about other people's lives around you. Stanislavski would like you to go and sit peacefully out in the world and people watch. And then as you're people watching, a Rolodex, if you know what that is, of emotional experiences that you can call back on. So even if you have not experienced something, maybe you've witnessed a friend go through it, but maybe you've seen a celebrity go through something as well. And you can put yourself in the shoes of that person and see what it was like for them to go through it. Now, Lee Strasberg was the one who created the method that is like method acting, where people take things too far, and you have Heath Ledger passing away because he got too involved and too dark in his character. People say that Stanislavski advocated for his actors staying safe and staying healthy, and that's what I advocate obviously for as well. But people say that it was Lee Strasberg that pushed the method too far and said you should go out and experience things that you haven't experienced before in order to know what it feels like. Let's just stay in the world of playing pretend. Let's just stay 8 years old and use our brains to fabricate what something would be like. We're pretty smart. But because Stanislavski was the originator of that idea, sometimes it gets wrongly attributed to him rather than Lee Strasberg taking his ideas a little too far in the wrong direction. It is hard to separate his modern students from those who studied under him while he was still alive and carried the torch on. So Lee Strasberg, Stella Adler, but some of the people who are mentioned as practicing the Stanislavski methods are Marilyn Monroe, Dustin Hoffman, Meryl Streep, and even some juicy ones, Natalie Portman, Angelina Jolie, Scarlett Johansson, and Christian Bale. So here's some fun facts that I found while researching this. He's quoted as saying, "There is nothing more tedious than an actor's biography, and actors should be banned from talking about themselves." His most common critique to his acting students is, "I don't believe you." I read An Actor Prepares. I haven't read any of his other works that I'm about to mention in a minute, but these are some of the quotes that I loved and found while I was reading it. "To arouse a desire to create is difficult. To kill that desire is extremely easy. Has my imagination dried up, or have I no reserves of material? It just means that many who boast are mistaken." He has 4 notable books: An Actor Prepares, Building a Character, and Creating a Role. Lastly, his autobiography, which is My Life in Art, which didn't somebody notably say that actors like shouldn't talk about themselves? Right, like biographies and that they're useless. It is my belief that Stanislavski's system is pretty common sense, but it is a wonderful landing place for whenever you aren't sure where to go, or maybe it's been a minute since you have been on stage, or maybe you're just finding yourself with a lack of inspiration. He's a great place to start. He obviously is like the founding of a lot of training systems that we have, especially here in the States. And I think it's worthwhile to have that structure and a way to approach a role. Thank you for watching. I really hope you found this worthwhile and educational. I want to do more videos like this, whether it be exploring an actor or a film and doing a deep dive into why they're still relevant today. If you did enjoy, please like, feel free to comment any questions that you have. I'd be happy to find the answers for you if I don't know myself. Be sure to subscribe if you are interested in this style of video. I also do lifestyle things and talk to you about my own acting process and writing process. I'd also be really happy to give acting lessons to anybody who is trying to find their way. It's not something that I've done before, but I really love teaching, and that's what I want to do with this YouTube channel, is pass along the information that I have and my journey with my own education. I view myself as a lifelong learner, and I want to convey that to you guys as well. So if you want one-on-one lessons, send me a comment or a DM and hit your girl up. Once again, I really appreciate you watching, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Bye!